Hello, hello. Let's get that audio check done, see how things are going. Oh, I see Danny Brashears right there popping up. Get rid of this. Remove that from studio. Sound is good, excellent. I got some announcements to make really quick. Glad to see we have so many in participation. Been anticipating Roger Spur of Mudfossil University. We did a preliminary yesterday with not a single hitch. Everything came through, but right now he's having problems. I'm waiting for him to pop up in my studio so I can click him in. He had to restart his computer. That's all good, guys. So tomorrow, I cannot believe I have lost. Wow, this is terrible. I had a whole document prepared. Roger's going through it. I'm going through it. I don't know how this happened. Maybe I can find it right here. There it is. So we have a lineup, guys. We have a huge lineup. I'm going to pay attention to this screen in case Roger pops in. But with one of my moderators, please put it in the live chat. I have a free download I made available today. It's rather extensive. It wasn't designed by me. It's somebody who follows Archaix, and they wanted to simplify all kinds of Archaix concepts with links. Put it in there for you. A lot of people have been downloading it all morning. It's there. It's an introduction to Archaix. It's something you can share. You can learn from it. It's pretty comprehensive. Tomorrow at noon, Texas time, 12 noon, it's going down. Why? Because Martin Leakey, Flat Earth British, and I will be discussing all these anomalies of destroyed cities and the weird narratives that go with it. Now, I know a lot of people have covered this already. Martin Leakey's been covering it for years. My lunch break's done a good job. There's several other channels. John Levy's done a good job of that. So we're going to go through it, and we're going to let Martin show us a whole bunch of pictures because this isn't something we're not reaching back into the past for a phenomena that we need to describe today. We're literally experiencing this now. Something very, very recent, just like the pictures from the 1800s and the early 20th century. It just happened in Hawaii. The same phenomenon. It's the same common denominators. So also happened in Paradise, California, and other places. It's happened in Canada recently. So we're going to discuss this. Monday, the 26th. You guys remember Jesse Howe, the missing link? I've done 3 podcasts with that guy. You know what? It's his turn to come on my channel. Joel Schaefer. You all know he's done meetups with me. He's going to educate me on Castaneda on Thursday, the 29th. Then September the 2nd, we're going to have the very first astrologer to be a guest on Archaix, Joseph P. Anthony. We'll be checking out his material and having a dialogue with him on September 2nd. That's on a Monday. So right after that, on September 4th, we have Jordan with Waters Above. You guys know he and I have done several. We've done a couple with Logan of Decode Your Reality. We'll be getting into the thick of it. Also on September 7th, which is Saturday, we'll have the Danny Inman podcast right here on Archaix. And following that on the 10th, 3 days later, Tuesday, September 10th, we'll have Uncommon Sense Radio right here on Archaix. Big John's been busy. He's got a new job. Big John's doing all kinds of scheduling. He's taking on more and more responsibilities the deeper he digs in my pocket. On Friday the 13th, I have an old acquaintance. I've been knowing her for a few years because she was with me when Archaix was just an embryonic and no one had ever heard of me, and there was only 4 or 5 people in my live chats. Shanta Meter is also an astrologer. She will be here on my channel on Friday the 13th, followed on the 16th by Jeff Harmon. And then we have Paul Cook extraordinaire. He's coming on September 22nd. Now, I'm giving you the guys the scheduling as I know it right now. There's going to be 1, 2, or 3. I just found out that I'll be doing a show with Candace Boyle and David Whitehead. I don't know what the dates are, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to find out on Google Calendars. By no means is this a complete list. This is only those who have responded to the emails and given us an exact date. There's over 25 other emails that have been put out, and some people have already gotten back to me and said, hey, I need a break right now. Let's talk about next month or so, or sometime in the future. I've been in communication with John Levy. I've been in communication with my lunch break. We're just taking it slow right now. So also, I want to, I've got Roger Spur in the studio. I can see him crystal clear. So everything's good there. Let me finish my announcements and I'll introduce my guest. So this is important for you guys to know. Virginia Beach got canceled for the hurricane. We left our properties. You guys know I took a lot of damage on my property. Dawn lives about 47 minutes to the south of me, and her neighborhood had a lot of trees down. Trees went through houses. Trees went over fences. We couldn't leave at that time. It was terrible timing. But Virginia Beach is still on, and this is why the Virginia Beach meetup it's critical. Let me explain. It's going to be on the 28th. On the 29th, we're going to schedule something also in the community where we can all meet at restaurants, at a restaurant or someplace, and we can spend time together. But it's going to be the last meetup for a while because I've got other irons in the fire. I got things I got to do, some traveling I got to do that's not going to involve meetups. But tickets are available. You can find the tickets in the description box below. You can find the tickets in the deal. My moderators will provide the link for tickets. This is why it's important. Okay, I'm doing something very different at this meetup. The subject matter of this meetup, it's focused on what you can do now, right now in your lives to absolutely change the trajectory of your life. Because the past is not a predicate for the future, for the highly individualized soul. I'm going to be doing a workshop only for those in attendance. And because the subject matter is going to be very private and it's very personal for some people, I'm not going to allow recording. Normally, I have 1 or 2 crews in there that are recording for other channels, or for me, it's not going to happen this time. I'm not even putting this video on YouTube. The reason is because there's been some recalcitrance about people wanting to really air out and talk about the things that are very personal to them, and they want to understand an exit strategy. They want me to provide them an exit strategy on how they can get out of that paradigm and move into one that gives them the things that they want in life, applying the very Archaix principles that I've demonstrated for 5 years on my channel. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get in deep. We're going to get in personal. There may be some breakdowns, some meltdowns, some crying. I don't know, but it's not going to be recorded. We're going to respect the privacy of the attendees. And this is going to be a what would Jason do session. And people are going to get very personal with me and tell me the problems they have in their life. And I'm going to walk them through the steps of what they need to do. So this is why we haven't really been advertising this one. We can't have a whole lot of the venue only holds so many people. We still have tickets left because we haven't really announced what we're going to do. Well, I'm making that announcement now. This is a workshop. It's not going to be a lecture or presentation. We're not going to be talking about history. None of that. This is 8 hours of basically reprogramming your reality so you know exactly what you need to do whatever it is you want to do in life and receive those experiences. So those are my announcements. That's it. That's on the 28th. And without further ado, let's get our guest in here. You guys know he is 3,300 videos in on Mudfossil University. Oh, I need to turn that off. I got more devices in here than the law allows. So no one produces that amount, that volume of material, and they're not dedicated to their subject matter. So I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with the quality and the quantity of material. Mudfossil University was known to you guys way before I came up on the scene. I was only in publishing. I had not started videos until 5 years ago. This man will keep you busy the rest of your life watching all those presentations. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. So get my here in here. Let's go ahead and introduce our esteemed guest. This is Roger Spur of Mudfossil University. How you doing?
Good, my friends. How are you? Good. Everybody's been asking about this and hoping for us to be talking. So this is nice. And yes, there is a ton of stuff.
And you got good audio. I'm glad you got that fixed.
Yeah. Finally, it just seems to happen. But anyway, what do you want to talk about? I'm down for anything, you know.
Oh, I'm absolutely full of questions and observations. And listen, we can go in many different directions. But what I want to do first is allow you about 10 minutes to introduce your work to my community. There are a lot of people that come from other communities that have never come across your material. And in the next 24 hours, about 30,000 people are going to watch this video. And the next week, about 50,000 people. So this is a golden opportunity for about 10 minutes to introduce basically what it is you found, what it is you're theorizing, and the amount of material that you've brought to the table. And then from there, I've got questions, and I know you got a bunch of answers.
Okay, I'm on. I'm gonna lay it on you here. It's gonna sound crazy, and that's why it's been so hard to accept. How I started in this was, you know, I'm pretty good at technical things, and for some reason, I woke up one morning and I said to my wife, I said, something in the woods calling my name. I feel like there's something out there calling my name. And I go out and I start digging around, and sooner or later, I find a giant human being body part. And then I said, I couldn't believe it. So I brought it back into my shop, and I got microscopes and all that stuff. I do all that kind of stuff. So I look at it, and sure enough, it's all there. And so I started searching on giants. And I swear this is the honest truth. Almost the first thing that came up, it said, these things are for you to see and for others as a test. And it freaking blew my mind. So I did all the research on how this could possibly be, because these are exceptionally preserved fossils of soft-bodied creatures. These are the complete things, and Yale has done that research too, and they say the same thing. They say exceptional preservation of soft-bodied creatures due to silica-rich oceans. Now, at this particular layer, which I am in the Triassic layer, is where the Great Flood happened, and there's a red bed, gray clay, and a black cap. And those three layers are the layer of the Triassic. And it was said it was a worldwide event, and it happened, they say, before there was even any creatures had bones or anything. But Yale backs it up on that, because I presented all this to Yale, but they won't allow it to be these giants. So I really ran into a lot of, serious meeting back and forth with Yale. And
I've seen your link. You sent me the link on the Yale peer-reviewed papers that were on Academy edu.
Yeah.
So I looked you up, and I noticed that there was like 53 or 54 different scholars and academics that have mentioned Roger Spur or Roger Spur's material. And because I'm a member of JASTOR, I go through all the peer-reviewed material. I like to find. ChatGPT has sent me on wild goose chases several times to look up peer-reviewed papers that do not exist. The open AI systems are absolutely falsifying information, but that's what got me going down to JSTOR, looking at all these scientific papers. I noticed your name. I didn't see anything you had written. I saw that you were referenced, and then you sent me the link to the Yale professor had written some material. And you'd send me like two links. One of them was showing that he literally lifted and borrowed your material word for word and then published it as his own. That's pretty.
No, let me interrupt you for a second. And that was the guy that gave him all my information. He refused. He said, "No, they're just rocks." We went back and forth, and I said, "No." Then I ended up getting DNA tested, and not off the surface. You drill deep into them, and you get the blood residue, right? Because I could find the artery. I mean, these things are just like body parts. I sent you a ton of things, anyway. So I said, well, bullshit, I'll get this fixed up. So I had a DNA test, cost me $650. And back then, this is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to do this. And it came back all positive for human DNA. And he said, there's no question whatsoever. It was heavy and it was dense. And then I got 7 CAT scans done by Jesse Garant Associates. They're the top ones in the world. And they did 2D and 3D CAT scans, 7 of them. And I presented all that to Yale. And he still wouldn't, he wouldn't agree. He said, no, don't ever come back here again. So at that point, I started getting really nasty. And that ended up actually having police and lawyers call me and telling me to stand down or, whatever. I don't know what they were going to do, but, at that point, I got to tell you something. This is as crazy as it gets, man. They tell me to stand down, which I had already had everything up. I had like 20 videos up and showing all my stuff and everybody to go. Anyway, I did. I took it all down. But a friend of mine, this guy named Phil Harris, had downloaded it, and somehow yesterday, I'm serious, this is the honest truth. Yesterday, I'm just clicking around and I come up with Phil Harris's name, and underneath it is all my original work that I lost. Yep. All of it. And I'm going to do an 18-part series because they're all done already. And I'm going to this is going to be so much fun, man, because I'm going to go back to what I originally said 10 years ago. When I originally did those videos, and how was I right? Was I wrong? I don't know, because already I found a couple of things I wasn't 100% on. I didn't realize about the hot water flood, and I didn't realize about there was something else. But I'm going to go through the 18 of those videos as a series because I originally had them all done. So anyway, go ahead.
I've seen what you're talking about on the hot water flood, especially in Florida and in mid to Southern California, in like the La Brea tar pits and the peat bogs of the UK. It's now being found that this boiling mineralized water is the reason why a lot of these deep tissues, soft tissues, were fossilized and preserved. We have brain matter that is still in skulls of skeletons that are dated to 4,000 and 5,000 years old, and that's almost impossible. It would have decomposed had it not been for this highly mineralized water that was super hot. Whatever happened to these people was a geyser, or whatever destroyed their civilization. It was boiling hot water that came straight out of the ground.
I can tell you what happened. Well, I can tell you exactly what happened. You got Velikovsky. You said you got his works, right?
Oh, I've got everything Velikovsky written, even his unpublished books.
All right, here's the deal. His claim is, and the evidence on the ground supports this. His claim is that Jupiter literally gave birth to the planet Venus, who they say at the time was written in the ancient texts. And the ancient texts all around the world had the same story. They said the feared god Jupiter, who is Zeus, gave birth to the fiery comet that hit Earth almost, just glanced Earth. And when it did, its atmosphere, as it approached Earth, it took 7 days, they claim. As it approached Earth, and this was literally a birth from a vagina. Did you see those pictures I sent you?
Yeah, I'm going to show them here in a little while.
Yeah, I can show that too. And it literally was. And they, in the ancient texts, Ovid, who wrote Metamorphoses, the first words in his huge epic work was, I intend to speak of bodies transformed into natural landscape by means of violence.
Wow, you know what? I missed that. I have cited Ovid's Metamorphosis many times for its cosmological features, but I missed that, what you're describing. And
Yeah.
I should have got it. I should have got it because I have a lot of notes on things that I've never revealed on my own channel. But I have a lot of notes on the legends of Ymir, how the ancient Norse believed that our world was actually came forth from the decomposing remains of a frost giant. And one single giant actually produced the land masses of our world, and we're like the little parasites that grew up on that decomposing giant. But that goes into Japanese cosmology. It goes into the Chinese ancient. What is the man? I'm trying to remember. I don't want to say Vedic. I don't want to say Vedic, but Purusha. Hindu mythology. In Hindu mythology, it's the same story.
Jason, Jesus Christ said the earth is a corpse. Did you know that?
No, I'd have to see that verse. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't say it, but I'd have to see that verse.
Here, I'll read it to you. This is from the Gospel of Thomas.
Because if Jesus was to have said that the world is a corpse, then he's literally, to me, saying that the goddess is dead. Because, the world was considered to be Gaia. The entire world was one single organism in the ancient Archaean mindset, which the Greeks borrowed from. And they believed that the entire world was a single organism in the female principle called Gaia. And that we are living on basically the back of a goddess. Very similar to the predictions that we live on the back of a turtle.
Yeah, well, this is in the Gospel of Thomas. Now, I don't know if you get into the Gnostic texts at all, but I read all the texts, and Hesiod and Ovid and Apollodorus freaking blow your mind.
I've read a couple books.
Yeah. Well, he talks about Typhon, who was in the desert. You know what I'm talking about? Typhon, the dragon in the desert.
Yeah, I've done some research on Typhon and the Phoenix.
Well, he's in the desert. We can see him right now. If you go to Google, you'd be able to see him. Hold on 1 second. Here's what Jesus said, and this is number 56 in the Gospel of Thomas. And these are the sayings that he was supposedly said when he was walking on the earth. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what it was written, and these are all the Jesus' sayings. And number 56 says, "Whoever has come to know the world has discovered a carcass, and whoever has discovered a carcass, of that person the world is not worthy." That's his statement.
That's really that is compelling. That is compelling.
Now listen to this.
When you said Jesus, I was assuming you were talking about a New Testament passage, but you're right. There are many, like the quotations in Thomas, the Gospel of Thomas. There's a lot more. There's a lot more.
Here's another one he says. Number 80, he says, Jesus said, "Whoever has come to know the world has discovered the body, and whoever has discovered the body, of that one, the world is not worthy." So here we go. And now the other one that gets me is, you know about my work on light at all?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, well, you will at some point. But anyway, I claim that we are made of light. There's two particles, a black and white particle. Now, here's another one Jesus said, number 50. He said, "If they say to you, 'Where have you come from?' say to them, 'We have come from the light, from the place where the light came into being by itself, established itself, and appeared in their image.'" So if he's saying that we came from the light, which is, I agree with that 100%, because light is nothing more than atomic vapor. You crush light together tight enough, it turns into matter, basically is what it is.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you that the ancient Egyptians absolutely agree with you, because in their concept, the atom, which later became the Aten sun disk, but the atom, the most ancient rendering of that name, was a self-generating God, and that our world was built from his body, the atom, and atom was the Lord of light.
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff, man. They knew way more than we give them credit for. And there was, I know that it gets a little confrontational. People have their ideas of they're God and so forth. But all I do is present evidence. I have no fight in this. All I do
Well,
is present.
I understand, and your overall concept is that I get it. Geography, or it's only mineralized today because something happened, but at one time you're talking about living organisms. So, in the Archaix research, I have to stick to one of my research tenets actually supports what you're saying. If something is true somewhere, then it's probably true everywhere. I'm saying this to my community all the time, and what I mean is what you're promoting on a much grander scale is still true today. I can name off several organisms today that cover several square miles, and it's a single organism. There in botany, there are plants, and sometimes people mistake them for trees, but they're not. There are organisms today that cover square miles, even in the United States, the Appalachian Mountains. There are funguses and molds that can cover several acres, and it's all one organism. So what I'm saying is we do have layerings of biological materials that are packed with their own DNA that do cover land masses. We especially have them in the Mediterranean. On the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea, I forgot the name of them. It's easily Googled, but there is a special type of grass that covers hundreds of square miles underneath the Mediterranean, and it's all one organism, just like the banyan tree. Not a real tree. Hundreds of shoots, thousands of acres can be covered by one single organism. It just looks like a bunch of different trees, but it's not. So I agree that whole land surfaces are biological today, but in ancient times, it would have taken a different biosphere, and I'm in agreement with that, because prior to what you're describing, the Typhon, the Phoenix being ejected from the mass of Jupiter and coming here, it's the only difference between what you and I are promoting is that Immanuel Velikovsky called it Venus, but I have shown other scholars who show that in ancient times there was a lot of scholarship that made a mistake, and they said Venus when they really meant Phoenix, and that Typhon came out of Jupiter. Typhon and Phoenix are interchangeable in all the ancient cosmologies. They're the same identity. It's different cultures. And that the Phoenix, Typhon, came out of Jupiter and then caused a mass destruction in our world. Literally changed our whole biosphere, collapsed it. I call it the vapor canopy. Completely collapsed it, and all life forms became super tiny today as opposed to what they were in ancient times. So you and I are seeing the same thing, but we're coming from different frames of reference. And to me, it just blows my mind because I've looked through your videos and you're showing me vapor canopy ecology. You're showing me vapor canopy organisms, whole layers of stratified rock that are packed with DNA. It's the same thing Charles Fort says. Charles Fort documented over and over and over all of the biological materials that are literally raining from our sky. And the very fact that you just told me that the layer of destruction, like the KT boundary, the layer, which is iridium, the layer of destruction is packed with red materials. My community knows well what that means, because every time the Typhon has made a pass, what's called a passover, every time a Typhon has made a passover, it literally deposited these red materials, red dust, red rain, red muds during these cataclysmic episodes. And what I believe is that you are probably one of the only people in the world that has documented the period prior to the appearance of the Typhon. A world that we know hardly anything about, a world where this was almost all living, everything from rocks to inanimate objects, everything here was alive, as opposed to the world we're experiencing now, where only a few living organisms are enjoying what is literally an extinct and dead world. We're living on a carcass, there's no doubt.
True enough. But speaking of the red layers and stuff, here let me flow this through so I don't get lost. let me just go flow this right through about my feeling about Venus. Now, Velikovsky, his claim was that they all said a fiery comet was ejected from the feared god Jupiter. Now,
Right.
and I have seen that there is literally a vagina on Jupiter, and it is literally the red spot, and it's about to give birth again, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, on top of that, apparently it said it took 7 days to approach the Earth, and it spins backwards. And that's exactly what would happen if the planet was rotating in its normal direction and the subplanet came out of it. It would spin in the opposite direction. And Venus is one of the only, well, it is the only planet that spins backwards. And it's 850 degrees because it spins backwards. It's scrubbing like a tire going down the road backwards, like going in reverse, because we're all scrubbing through the universe at the same time through all the particles. All right, and we're heating up our atmosphere. The sun's atmosphere is, the corona is millions of degrees. The surface is only 10,000. And it's all because of the scrub as we spin and we're being ripped through the arm of the Milky Way. And we, as a planet, our outside atmosphere, way outside, is 3,000 degrees. Most people don't know that, the ionosphere. And you get down to the Earth, it's around 100 degrees. So why would it be 3,000 way up there? And then guess what? Between there and the Earth, it goes down to minus 112. So you got hot way, way, way out at the edge. And then you get cold because that's the dipole, the hot and the cold. And then you get hot again down on the surface because that's where we got our global warming is. So it's the impact of our outside atmosphere scrubbing through, and the same thing on the sun, identical. Now, the particles that are coming off the sun are, everything is made of those. And it appears everything that's in the universe that I can find is made of light and was alive at one time. Like you said, everything coming through space was a living thing. They're finding, the great Kentucky meat shower was just big chunks of meat fell out of the sky. I have 3 meteorites here, and they all have, 1876, Great Kentucky meat shower. Look it up. And chunks of meat fell. And one guy ate them. He said it tasted like elk or something.
Yeah, I've got in my files, I've got data about carbonaceous material, meaty leaf material all throughout the 1800s rain from the sky. Animals and birds ate it, no problem. They consumed it. It kind of lends a whole new aspect to the manna from heaven story from the Old Testament.
Well, here, let me just finish up on the Venus. I'm sorry, man. I get carried away and then I get lost because that's just the way I am. But anyway, so Venus comes. Now, here's my interpretation, and I believe this is Velikovsky's interpretation. Venus is basically the identical same size as Earth. And it came with its reverse spinning 850 degree temperature and hit our atmosphere and literally ignited the atmosphere. And when you compress hydrogen and oxygen, what was in the atmosphere, it turns into water. But it didn't just turn into just water, it turned into boiling water. And in the meantime, the cooking, it was said it was 10 times brighter than the sun as it came at us. And it boiled the oceans, literally boiled the oceans, it says. And that's in the Colburn Bible, one of the first verses. It says, and if you want to look it up right now, you got your computer going, just click in the Colburn Bible and you'll see the first couple verses. It says the oceans boiled and the land was all engulfed and the trees were destroyed. And
all right, man, that's 2 times you hit me with a text that I'm very familiar with and taught me something, because I've already done videos on the Colburn Bible on my channel. Yeah. And I've cited Ovid's Metamorphosis multiple times. But both times now, you educated me about the intros and things that I missed about this boiling water. And I'm pretty impressed with that.
Well, it's I'm telling you, man, this stuff is just freaking blowing my mind. I've been searching this stuff. That's all I do. That's my whole life now. Anyway, so here's what happens. And this was recorded. This is not just one recorder. Velikovsky, as you know, went to every library, every museum, every cultural center, everywhere in the entire world, the islands here and there, and totally places nobody knew of anybody else. They never talked to anybody else about this. They had the same story. And it goes back to approximately 1500 BC. And this is when the feared god Jupiter gave birth to the fiery comet, which later turned out to be Venus. It almost hits Earth, combusts the skies, destroys, wrenches the Earth, all kinds of volcanoes and this and that. Now, at the same time, the ocean boils. Now, where I am, my mud fossils, I am in a basin, they call it, the Connecticut area basin, which is the most studied Triassic area in the world. And they're just laying there everywhere. And what happened, tri means three. Triassic era was 540 million years ago, they say, which is absolutely ridiculous. It was 1500 BC. Now, here's what happened.
You're speaking my language. Just like the KT boundary wasn't millions of
I know. I think we're on the same page, brother. And the problem is these people are so mental-sided. Their minds are so burnt into the fact that it's got to be peer reviewed, this and that. They cannot talk. And believe me, I'm after a bunch of them about a lot of things. But anyway,
peer review only keeps the free thinker in check. Peer review is not for the dissemination of accurate information. It's to keep the accurate information away from the public.
It's racketeering. They break your legs. You try to get in there. It's racketeering. Now, so here Venus almost hits Earth. Everything's boiling. Well, what would happen to the creatures? They'd boil. And when they boiled, the red bed is the red eroded flesh, the top layer of eroded flesh of all the creatures, and it created red mud. Then there's a gray clay layer, which is what they call marl, is all of the organs and bones and trees and all that stuff came after, because the red flesh was very, very easy to boil right off. So this is worldwide now. Now, this is not just one place or another. This is everywhere in the world. And this one layer, this Triassic. So you got your red bed, all boiled flesh. Then you got your gray clay, all the rest of the organs and so forth. And that's where you find most of your organs and all the other body parts. And then above that, you got your black cap. And the black cap is the fallout from all of the debris that was in the atmosphere and rained down. Now, according to Velikovsky, after this, he wrote Ages in Chaos and a bunch of other stuff. I know you got him, and they're I'm telling you,
this whole stack is all Velikovsky.
They destroyed him. You know that. They made him take his book off the bookshelves. It was #1 bestseller on the New York Times book list, #1 for 11 weeks in a row, and they forced him the publisher to take it off the shelf. And after that, it was, they made it act like if you bought that book, you were a sucker, boy. That was it. They even had to take it off the bookshelves. That kind of crap they pull. So they forced him to take it off, and they said if they didn't take it off, they would never buy another book from him. So now Velikovsky is in. I wrote a book about Velikovsky in 2015 because I was so pissed off. And my book is called Minds in Collision. His was Worlds.
Well, for those who don't know what he's talking about, Manuel Velikovsky, this is a very old one, but this is the Peoples of the Sea. I have this from my Atlantis research on the 13th century BC. Velikovsky provides the information that Atlantis was nowhere near back in there's no Younger Dryas, Ice Age, all that. Velikovsky, basically, he's the nail of the coffin on the Atlantis deal. This is information right here. This is a gold mine of information for what Roger here is talking about. Earth and upheaval. This is the sequel to Worlds in Collision. This one copy here is real old. Oh, you know this one, Mankind and Amnesia.
Yep. He called them Homo ignoramus.
Yeah. So I've got Worlds in Collision is the one that started it all.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the one that started it all. It was followed by Earth in Upheaval. And then my favorite, because I'm a chronologist, these are all up Roger's alley, right here, these books on ancient catastrophist theory. But this book was up my alley because it is a chronological wonder. This is Ages in Chaos.
Right.
Peoples of the Sea. It is amazing. It's an amazing book. So this is what he's talking about when he's talking about Velikovsky. He's talking about somebody who has literally done the homework. The bibliographies in here are extensive. This man didn't just make anything up. He put a lot. I may not agree with everything Velikovsky said, but in order to disagree with it, I have to come with my qualifications. I have to come. You got to come hard with your own bibliography to undo this.
Yeah, he was top shelf, and Einstein was an idiot, to be perfectly honest with you. He was wrong about virtually everything he said, but Velikovsky was a good friend of Einstein's. So Velikovsky they had to destroy him because he was amongst them. He was inside of that cage, and they could not allow him to make these statements because it destroyed virtually everything they said about everything. Literally everything, our history, the whole 9 yards. Now, and they cannot be wrong. That's the problem with academia. And right now they're so wrong. It's so embarrassing. It's unbelievable. And they will be seen as just destroyers of the human mind. And they really now are by people that are paying attention. But anyway, so let's get back to the Venus.
You're right. Huh? Albert Einstein was no genius. Albert Einstein was a part of the collective apparatus. There was a whole consortium in the 1950s of scientists from all over the world that filled a petition out. They all put their signatures on it from all over the world saying that Albert Einstein is a fraud and this theory of relativity is absolute BS and it's taking science in the wrong direction.
Yeah, we'll go into that one. We'll go into that one again. I'd love to go into it but I'd love to be able to have my screen and jump through everything and back and forth. But at some point, maybe we can get that worked out. But anyway, getting back to this Venus deal. So Venus cooks the hell out of the Earth, and as far as Velikovsky said, that it was recorded that they didn't have enough oxygen to start fires after this impact, and that's probably in Ages in Chaos there, and because that's what happened after. Just think of what it would be like, because the whole Earth was overwhelmed. The entire Earth has this red bed, gray clay, and black cap, and now, as you saw in that paper from Yale and my paper, it was all about silicon, and they said they would never have known this if it wasn't for the silica-rich oceans, and they don't understand where the silicon came from. Well, here's the deal. Silicon is a siliceous ooze. It forms a liquid ooze, but it's not just a ooze. It weighs 2.5 times more than water. So it's a liquid, and it's sunk to the ocean's bottoms.
Now, so it formed under compression.
Well, silicon in its silicates, it's just that it's a heavy siliceous ooze. So it forms they got about a mile thick of it on the ocean floor, and it's just a gooey ooze. And if you look it up, siliceous ooze. And what happened when the Earth literally stood still? In the ancient texts, it said the Earth stood still, and it did, from the impact of Venus's magnetic field against our magnetic field. Now, don't forget, Venus was spinning backwards, and we're spinning forward. So the two fields are going to oppose each other, and it would sort of stop the Earth from spinning for a while. Well, for some places, it's apparently a day, they said. Now, what would also happen? All of the water is going to keep going. and all of the siliceous ooze from the came up as what they call supersaturation in the waters above in the oceans. Now, what that did, silicon attaches. It's got an attachment, like a real strong attachment, aluminum silicates, it's called, and that's feldspar. Feldspar and aluminum silicates are the coatings with membranes. So everything that boiled off and still has a membrane under it. I have all kinds of kidneys and livers and hearts and lungs and all kinds of things that had the membranes, and the membranes were what protected what was underneath. I called it, and it's also called fascia, membranes, fascia, very similar. I called it fascia facilitated fossilization. And I wrote that paper in 2015. And the fascia, after everything boiled off, protected all these body parts. And these are the body parts you see, and you see all these balls around the world. And I'm showing you in some of the things I sent you, I have a 3 foot long fingertip, just a tip finger, 3 feet long, absolutely flawless. But anyway, Yale couldn't figure out how this silicon got in the water, and it's back to sinking to the ocean bottom again. So that is what preserved everything because of the silicon, and it hardened everything up and invaded it. And that's why you ever hear them say quartz veins of quartz. Those aren't just veins of quartz. Those are veins. Those are veins and arteries that filled in with quartz. They're actually mostly arteries, because arteries just drained out. They're liquid today. I sent you a picture of a heart that is. It looks like it's somebody painted blood on there, but I mean painted paint on there, but it's blood. And a friend of mine.
So what is the uniformitarian in geology? What are they claiming that the veins in quartz are? What do they say they are? Just mineral?
Yeah, it's just mineral. It just happens. It must have been from some hot upwelling of some lava related
Because the veins do also resemble like the branching out like of tree roots. You know, they do look like that. So
let me ask you something.
Random at all. There's a geometry to them that's very specific. So I can see them as blood vessel. I can see them as some type of. Let me ask
you something. Can you get on Google Earth? Can you get on Google Earth and show it on your screen?
What do you want me to show?
I want you to go to North Africa.
Tell you what, first, before I share my screen, let me go find it. All right. Let me find it first. So what am I looking for?
Well, you're going to see Typhon. I'm going to show you where Typhon is.
All right. So all I do. Oh, you want me to go to maps?
Yeah, Google Earth. Yeah.
So I got Microsoft Bing. Now, hold on. I got to find Google. I hardly ever use it.
Well, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Do this. Remember those pictures I sent you? Can you call some of those up?
Absolutely. I'm going to North Africa. Map of what?
Well, just the whole of North Africa. He runs all the way across North Africa.
Okay, I got North Africa map. You want a satellite image?
I can't see it. I would have to see what you're doing.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I wasn't prepared.
Don't worry. No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I sent you pictures of Typhon. You'll see them in the pictures I sent.
Yeah, Microsoft Bing keeps trying to take over even when I use Google. I can't stand Microsoft systems, but they're necessary. I can share the whole file.
All right.
Share the whole file. Hold on, let me present. Share my screen. So what am I looking for on this file?
All right, let's see.
You got a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, I got to somehow open the screen up so I can see.
Oh, here's Typhon, North Africa.
There you go, right there. Okay. Now, good. Bring it up. Yeah. Now, look down on the bottom left there. You see that? That's a gigantic fish. Take your time. Look at it. You see go down.
Something right here.
No,
Something
above
right
it.
here.
Above it. That whole, no. Back it up.
Oh, this whole thing here. Okay.
That whole thing is a fish. Right there. Exactly. Circle that fish.
So this would be dorsal. This would be subdorsal. This
Exactly.
would be open mouth.
No. That's the tail. Go to the front. Look at the way you got to go way deep in. Look at the way the scales go. They twist to the side. They twist. He's going away. He's going to the left.
Okay.
All right. Now back out of them. See, if we oh boy, I wish we had this on Zoom. I could show you this. Zoom works real good for doing this. But anyway, that is a fish. Now, right above him, zoom in again up to his fin up at the top, as far in as you can get. All right, there you go. Now, you see the black stuff coming down onto his fin?
Right here?
All that black stuff, yes. And right above that black stuff is the head of a dragon. You see that? You've got it right. No. Go back where you were. Go back. Right above the black. Above, right there. That's the head of the dragon right there. There's his head. You see that? No. Stay right. There's his face right there. That's where he's shooting out all the squirt from. He's attacking that fish. That is all that black stuff coming down on that fish. This is exactly what was written in Apollodorus, 1.6.3 Apollodorus. Now, if you go down his neck, go home in as close as you can get.
That's it, as far as I go.
All right, go down his neck. Yep, you're going down his neck. Yep, right there. Yep, boom. Now, just back up a little bit. Back a little. No. Back your cursor up a little bit. Back up just a little, your cursor only. Go back just a hair. No, back. There, right there. You see the black stuff coming out of his neck? Yeah. That's where Zeus cut his throat with his great and mighty sword. And that is exactly what is written in the ancient texts. And that black and red blood coming out of there, if we had it on Google Earth, you could home right in, you can actually see the black and red blood. Now, I think that's as much as I got. You can't go to the right anymore. Oh, yes, you can. Okay, good. Back out. That's his body. That huge thing in the middle is his body. His neck is going, yeah, exactly. That's his body. And the two legs coming down at the bottom are his legs. Yep, right over there. Yeah, you got it. Now go over as far over to the right as you can go. Keep going. All the way, way over to the end. Right there. That's the end of his tail. He's 1,200 miles long. And if you could zoom in and see, you could see every single scale on his neck, every single dragon scale. If people are watching and they want to comment, is anybody commenting?
Yeah.
Huh?
I see the Archaix structure down here.
That's it. That was Atlantis. I can guarantee you of that. If you go to the right of Atlantis, the eye, it's the eye of the Sahara, the Archaix, yes. But I did a lot of work on it. In 2015, I wrote a book about it. And if you get right down there, yeah, right to there, right where your cursor was. No, way over to the right where it started, right there. That's where the Sahara drained. It drained right over there. And there is a straits there. And there is an exact straits going right across there. They controlled entry into the Sahara Ocean. And when the ocean drained right around that, look at how it ran off to the left. See if you can move to the left. I don't know if you can.
Well, I know what you're talking about. I'm familiar with Archaix structure theory in Atlantis. I'm very familiar with it. I know. Yeah. I've seen the drain offs over here.
And that drain out, Plato said they would never speak of mud again. So much ran off. Now, it actually created the Cape Verde Islands. And you can see it's so obvious. The Cape Verde Islands go straight across, and on both sides they squish out. Now, I got a couple of good shots of Typhon in these pictures. All right, there he is. There's his head. All right, dig right in. See you. All that runoff down there. You see that reddish stuff you got your cursor going through? That's just the decompose. That's decomposing body fluids. Right there is his neck. Yes, and that's as far down as it goes. There's the scales right there. Exactly. You're on top of the scales right now. All right, you see the scales going down his neck? There you go. Perfect, perfect. Those are his beards. Those two things are his beards, and that's where it's squirting the nasty stuff out to attack that fish. You see though that? That's coming out. Look at his eye. You see his eye up there, that red flared eye? Go up to where his eyeball is. Up. You got to go up. No, up. Yeah, right there. There it is, right there. There's his eye. Hold in as close as you can get. You see it trailing off? There's his red flared eye, and they talk about that. Now, back out of it. Now, you see the stuff coming out of his beards? That's the black stuff going down to attack the fish. We've seen the attack. All right, and that's nasty, nasty, nasty stuff. All right, now.
So for organisms this large, would necessarily imply that our world cannot possibly be 24,000 miles in circumference if creatures this big were here.
Well, I have no explanation for that, my friend. All I can tell you is that now, as far as I'm concerned, there's very little doubt that the Earth is a round ball, and you can see it from Google Earth from the space station. I do a lot of stuff in space too, so, and I understand that pretty well. And anyway, this is his head, just outlined so that people can get an understanding. If you go back to the other picture, you'll understand and be able to see it much better. You see the scales. What I want you to focus in on is the scales going down his neck. If you go back into the other one that's not highlighted, you'll be able to see them. But that's where they're going to be.
So go back to the top here.
No, the Typhon one way down the bottom, Typhon. Yeah, that one I think is it. Yeah. There you go. Now, home in on that one. Way down on his throat. Go way in on his throat. There you go. There you go. No, follow down his throat. You see the scales? You see how they're like evenly spaced little scales? That's the way he could bend his neck. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to bend it. Now, here we're going to get to the cut. Here it is right there. Back. No. Go, there you go, right there. You see the black and the red coming out of the neck? Home in closer if you can. Go over to the right. No. Go to where the cut. Right there. Now lift it up. Go up. Move it up so we can see it. There you go. Now, is that as far in as you can get?
Yeah, I can't zoom in any more than that.
Okay, good. Move your cursor up to where the cut is and the red is coming out.
Coming right here?
Exactly. That's right. That whole length across there was cut. That is red blood, and the black is the black blood. It's vein and artery. And the other stuff that we see, all of the other runoff is just from a decaying, effluent, they call it. It's just a watery effluent. But that's where it's, and on the ancient maps from 1375, they show him going all the way across North Africa with this cut across his neck.
Oh, you don't have that map in here?
No, but I could send it to you.
Oh, it's fine. We can see it on another show sometime.
All right.
Let's see. I got you sent these today.
Oh yeah. Okay, good. Well, hold on. This is the Venus stuff. You see the one down at the bottom in the middle.
Shows Jupiter.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jupiter and Venus. Yeah. So right there. Yeah. Go click on that one. All right. This is the red spot. Now, home in as good as you can get. All right, that's the red spot with the size of Venus coming out of the red spot. Now, back out of it a little bit. Venus, this is Jupiter. And this red spot is a bump. It's not a storm. It's a vagina, and it's a bump. All vaginas have a bump on them. The top, it's called the Venus Mons. I'm not kidding you. It's the Venus Mons. Now, as
Venus Mons, Pubis Mons, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you got it. That's exactly right. Now, as Jupiter spins to the right, all right, it is dragging that bump through these heavy clouds, and the atmosphere on Jupiter is so dense it's almost like water because of the gravity. It's 300 times bigger than Earth. So what we're looking at is just a vortex of ripples coming after it goes around that bump. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not a storm. Now, go back to the pictures again. All right. Now, the go to the one to the right of the one you just did. Yep, that one. That, my friend, is a vagina, and it is literally a vagina, and that is the red storm, they call it, or red spot. Now, if you zoom in as close as you can get. All right, now go to the very, very bottom as you can get. Way to the bottom, way to the bottom, way. All right, there it is. Now, you see that little white strap coming up there, and there, exactly right there. There it is right there. That is the latch that latches with that strap, latches a vagina into the body of a woman. I swear to God, that is a fact. Look to the side of it. The hairline is there and everything. And it even has the hairs. Look to the other side. Not that side. Look to this side. This one here. No. Way out the edge. Yeah, right.
I can't go left or right because the image is so narrow.
I know, but all you got to do is look to the left. Look on the left wall. You see it going right there. You see him?
Yeah.
All the way up. Look at how it sits all the way up. On that side, that's the outer, they call it the labia majora, I think. And then there's a labia minora. And at the bottom is the vestibule. And at the top, you see the labia majora and minora at the top. You see the hairline going to the side? See it on the side? All right, and you got the clitoris at the top. I'm pretty good at vaginas, I've been to a lot of vaginas lately, Now look at this.
Video PG-13.
This is scary, man. This goes back to 2019. You see that? That's the red spot, and it's puffed up like a big cervix and turned round. Before you saw it, it would look like a regular oval-shaped vagina. It turned round and started sloughing off blood.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, you showed me the typhon. You showed me what visually looks like a. Hold on just a second. We'll get back to these pictures in just a second. So, one critical question.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't change your theory, but it does completely change Venus's role. Let me explain. So, our world was destroyed in this boiling flood because something ejecta came out of the surface of Jupiter. Right?
Yeah.
Something came out of the surface of Jupiter.
Well, I can't do it. Hold on. Let me just be sure. Let's stay together on this. My claim is it came out of that vagina that I just showed you. It was literally a living birth. Go ahead. Now your turn.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about ejecta. We're talking about something solid or whatever came out of that hole in Jupiter And that whatever came out is what ended up destroying the world in a boiling flood.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep, we're on the same page so far. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Here's where I diverge from you.
Okay.
The reason I can agree 100% that area of the sky that we call Jupiter and that deal, whatever it was, that something came out of that storm, whatever it is, in this, it doesn't matter what I interpret the sky as. I am in agreement that that's what happened. You said 15th century BC. I'm also in agreement because as a chronologist, I've nailed it down to 1687 BC, and I cite many different ancient texts that give the exact year, which translates in our modern calendar to 1687 BC, for this massive destruction of the world that you described. And I have 5 videos on this. So we're in total agreement here. Yep. Where I disagree, and I'm even in total agreement that this thing in North Africa could have come straight out of that hole in Jupiter. It could have come through in ancient times across the board. Celestial phenomena as they approach the world in our sky is always called sky dragons. So Typhon was a sky dragon. I'm totally in agreement with you that whatever deposited on North Africa could have been the sky dragon that attacked our world that the ancients were terrified at. I'm total agreement. Where I'm in disagreement with is a minor error. It's just minor. Where I'm in disagreement with is that today, according to the uniformitarian model of astronomy, Venus's orbit around the sun is so perfect. It's not like Earth. We're in elliptical orbit. An elliptical orbit is not a circular orbit, but Mercury is very close to the sun in the uniformitarian model, and it's not an ellipsis. It's a circle. So Venus is almost perfect circle around the sun, which I have a problem with Venus getting too close to Earth, because in that model, how could Venus have a good orbit and then have such a perfectly circular orbit if it came out of this chaos?
Well, I can explain this to you. Here's because there's a lot that happened in the middle there. Venus almost impacted us and caused a terrible cataclysm, and could have been 16, whatever you had there, and that could very well be. It was sometime in that range there, and there was 3 of them that happened. It wasn't just one. So Venus went out on this crazy orbit, and it was actually directed at us by Jupiter. Jupiter sent Venus to destroy the giants, and that was, that's what happened. It was foretold, and Prometheus knew about it, and he told Deucalion, who was Noah, to build a chest and stock it with provisions, because Jupiter has decreed death on Earth. All the giants have to go. And so anyway, the Venus impact on Earth was devastating, absolutely devastating. And then it went out and swung back around, and it almost hit Earth again, according to Velikovsky. However, it actually impacted Mars. And I have the pictures to show you the Mars scars, the Marianas Trench, and all that stuff. So now we had 3 major cataclysms in that range of areas, according to Velikovsky. All I can account for, and all I can absolutely produce evidence for, is the Triassic one that caused the red bed, the gray clay, and the black cat worldwide, salacious ooze, and, as Yale says, exceptionally preserved soft body creatures. And that's exactly what I have. And they say, wait, let me continue. Hold on a second. And Yale, in their same paper, they say that they can't account for these creatures. They were before there was any bones or teeth or anything, which is just bullshit. Mine are all just normal. And they can't account for them, but they know that they could have happened and turned into fossils within hours or days, which I agree with that, because I'm making them myself. It doesn't, not hours, it takes months. But at any rate, and they said in their statement was there's nothing like, well, they want to know if some of them are still around today. In other words, they think that the world was wiped clean. And then the other statement was, and this is their exact words. Hold on. Well, I can tell you what well, I might as well get it to be positive. Hold on. Here's their exact words well, let me just read you this whole thing. It says, this is the Ediacara biota. They give it a name. It says, takes its name from a fossil deposit in Australia, but it's found worldwide in rocks from 541 million years old to 580 million years old. Now listen to that. They say the creatures themselves were as small as a few millimeters and as large as a meter and lived in dense, diverse communities on the sea floor. It was because the whole world was a sea at that time. Now listen to this. And this is right from their lips of the people that stole my work. It says, many of them are outright bizarre in appearance and do not resemble any organisms alive today, said Lydia Tarhan, a postdoctoral fellow at Yale and first author of the study. Then she says, we would like to understand their relationship to the complex animals that evolved shortly thereafter. In other words, they wiped it clean. Then she says this, listen to this. She says, are the Ediacara organisms some sort of failed evolutionary experiment? Are the Ediacara organisms some sort of failed evolutionary experiment? Yes, because they were giants and monsters and dragons. It says, or do they include the ancestors of the animals that colonize the oceans today? And they claim that they were all, they lived before the evolution of shells, teeth, or bones, which are the only things that fossilize. See, they're just freaking weirdos.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. It's my issue still is the your theory absolutely makes sense of the evidence you've presented. My only issue is that I have uncovered in writings and references of Frank Joseph, Hittite scholars. Like, I'll give you an example. Hittite scholars have translated the cuneiform text, hundreds of them, of King Amaziduga of the 19th century BC. King Amaziduga of the 19th century BC is famous for his Venus almanacs. Do you see the problem here? Venus, movements of Venus were recorded meticulously on cuneiform writings of King Amaziduga's court in the 20th and 19th century BC, 300 or 400 years before this cataclysm involving Venus. This is why I'm saying I agree with your theory. I think that some of these translators are correct. And in ancient times, they mistakenly said Venus when they were supposed to say Phoenix. And if you read Strabo, Diodorus Siculus, and Herodotus, they all say the same thing. There is no difference between Phoenix and Typhon. They're the same. It's just two different cultural names for the same thing. So I'm saying that what came out of Jupiter ended up destroying our world, and the residual destruction landed. It's right there in North Africa. You've pinpointed that. It's there. So this is the sky dragon, Typhon. It fell. It's right there. It's deposited, destroyed the entire world. The whole theory fits perfectly with what you're showing. I'm in agreement. My only difference is I think Velikovsky erred. And
I can't disagree with you. I can't disagree with you 100%. But here's why I say that Velikovsky's account of Venus being born, literally born, and Apollodorus's account of Typhon, and I'll read it to you. Want me to read it to you about the Typhon? Because it's very short and it talks. Yeah. Here, I'm going to bring this up and read it. Now, and this is from Apollodorus, and he wrote in the BC era, a couple hundred BC. Now, there was a fight between the Titans and the giants and the gods. And the gods were led by Zeus. And Zeus was working with Hercules. And they were going to wipe out all the remaining giants and all the remaining monsters. But those were the children of Gaia, who you talked about earlier, who was the Mother Earth. She was Mother Earth. Those were her children, and they were going to kill them, and they did. And here's what it says. I'm going to just read you a couple little lines here. They're killing all of the old giants. And here it comes on. This Polobidus was chased through the sea by Poseidon, came to Kos, and Poseidon, breaking off that piece of the island, which is called Nizarum, threw it on him. And Hermes, wearing the helmet of Hades, slew Hippolytus in the fight, and Artemis slew Gratian. And the Fates, fighting with brazier clubs, killed Argus and Thoas. The other giants Zeus smote and destroyed with thunderbolts, and all of them Hercules shot with arrows as they were dying. All right, so they killed all the giants. So Zeus and Hercules are working together. So now Mother Earth is pissed off. They just killed all her children. Here's what she said. Here's what happened. This is what was written. It says, when the gods had overcome the giants, so the gods, Zeus and so forth, killed all the giants, Earth was more enraged. Earth had intercourse with Tartarus and brought forth Typhon in Sicily. He was a hybrid between man and beast. In size and strength, he surpassed all the offsprings of Earth. As far as his thighs go, he was of human shape and of such prodigious bulk, he outtopped all the mountains, and his head often brushed the stars. And then they go on, they say, one of his hands reached out to the west and the other to the east, and from them projected 100 dragons' heads. Now, we don't see those now, but they were, if you read about Jupiter and Zeus, he cut the heads off first. And so anyway, from the thighs downwards, he had huge coils of vipers, which when drawn out, reached to his very head and emitted a loud hissing. His body was all winged, unkempt, hair streamed on the wind from his head and cheeks. Fire flashed from his eyes, which we saw. And then it says, such and so great was Typhon, when hurling kindled rocks. Wait till you hear this. He was born to kill the gods. Gaia had sex with Tartarus to create Typhon to go and kill the gods. And he's on that mission right now. He says, when Typhon, hurling kindled rocks, he made for the very heavens with hissing and shouts, spouting a great jet of fire from his mouth. When the gods saw him rushing at heaven, they made for Egypt in flight, and being pursued, they changed their forms into those of animals, like a fish. And then it says, however, Zeus pelted Typhon at a distance with thunderbolts, and at close quarters struck him down with an adamantine sickle. That's when he cut, they said he cut his throat with his great and mighty sword. And then it goes on to some stuff that I don't know about him. Apparently, it wasn't all over at that time, and Typhon ended up getting to Zeus. In other words, Typhon twined about him and gripped him in his coils, wrestling the sickle from him, and he severed the sinews of his hands and feet. So now Typhon took the blade and cut the tendons of Zeus. So he's got no tendons. You can't move your arms or feet. So he lifted him up on his shoulders. He carried him through the sea to Sicily and deposited him on arrival in a Corsian cave. Likewise, he put away the sinews, which he chopped out, that's his tendons, and hid him in a bearskin. He set to guard them with a she-dragon, Delphine, who was a half-bestial maiden. This stuff is just... It's just insane. But
okay, let me interject, because you're touching upon Archaix very well documented phenomena that I have covered in Archaix multiple times. You said that there was 3 separate times this happened. I have documented for my community 3 separate Phoenix Typhon appearances in the ancient world. It was a repetitive struggle. And you're right, Typhon did leave for a while and he came back and they had to deal with him again. Another thing that I have shown my community is that when Typhon appears, this is just one reference, Apollodorus, but there's 4 other references to the gods always fleeing to Egypt every time the Phoenix appears or the Typhon appears. And there's a reason for that. This is why the arithmetic of the Phoenix mirrors the rectilinear dimensions of the Great Pyramid in Egypt. The ancient Egyptians were onto something. They knew about the sky, and they knew what the sky was capable of doing, and they recorded it in their architecture. So nothing you're saying in this tradition counters your theory. It actually supports it. So far, I haven't heard anything at all that I'm in disagreement with, except the fact that I am convinced by virtue of my own studies and the references from ancient texts that I've published on my channel that there was confusion 2,000 years ago between Venus and Phoenix, which in the Greek are phonetically precise, they're exact. And this confusion goes back 2 millennia. So I think that you're correct, and I think Emanuel Velikovsky simply made the mistake, and that this Typhon came out of Jupiter. I'm on board with that. I'm also on board with the fact that Typhon was specifically created to deal with the gods, because this is what we have in the Nag Hammadi text. In the Trimorphic Protenoid text, it specifically says that Phoenix is the bringer of darkness, the breaker of thrones. Thrones were the wanderers, the planets. It was specifically created to be keeper of the calendar. It is the doom shape, but it was not. It's not like any of the other celestial beings. It was specifically created to keep them in check. It even says keep the archons in check, the wanderers. So you and I are agreeing about the same.
Yeah, no, you could have you have a valid point. It could be right. You could be right.
We're coming from totally different fields. We're coming from different research avenues, and I think it's very compelling because our frames of reference are different, but we're literally agreeing that the ancient world had giant biological organisms. The ancient world was fundamentally different. I call it the vapor canopy world. That world was absolutely destroyed, which ended the Titans. It ended the giants. It was a celestial phenomenon. Parts of that celestial phenomenon alter the geography of our world. You found it in North Africa. You and I are absolutely on board. Same thing. Only difference is a sociologist. A Jewish sociologist named Emanuel Velikovsky made just one mistake.
But I hadn't considered that, but it's a possibility. I can't not consider it. No,
yeah, I'm surprised that Velikovsky, because he dated it. Velikovsky was very specific when this event happened, and I'm very surprised that he didn't look into the Venus almanacs.
I know. I've heard other people say that too, and
the ancient Hittites, the Babylonians, and the Maya, all 3 of them kept Venus almanacs because their calendars were more accurate watching the 8-year cycle of the Venus, because in 8 years Venus forms a perfect pentagram in the sky, and the Venus calendar is more accurate than the solar calendar because of 365.24 reckoning. It's very hard to make a calendar of when the celestial sphere is divided by 360 degrees. So I understand how he would have made that mistake. I get it, but he totally practiced exclusions by not mentioning the existence of Venus calendars that are 1,000 years before the date he says Venus appeared.
I gotta look into the Venus calendar stuff.
Yeah, that's the only problem. Everything else, I'm on board. You have insight.
We should talk together about that. I'd like to learn about, because I don't really know about that, to be honest with you. What I took was go back to those pictures that I sent you if you can. And
let's do it. Let me see. Yeah. Present, share screen.
What I'd like to look at is I'm showing Mars and Venus.
Let's see here. You got so many pictures here. Where do I go?
Let's see here. Let's see. Come back up.
Oh no, you're talking about in the planet. The
Yeah,
planet.
Yeah. There. The third one in, not there, right there. Okay, that is the Marianas Trench. Now that is on Mars, and that's at the top. I believe was the impact site, and went all the way across there. That is wider than the United States, and it's very deep, and it is, I believe, an impact site. Now, it does say in some ancient text somewhere that that Venus or whoever, it might have been, as you say, Phoenix, impacted Mars, and that's what killed Mars. That's why it's the red planet now. It's exactly the same exact stuff as on Earth.
Okay. I want. Listen, I love you. I love your mind. I like where you're thinking, but let's use Occam's razor just for a second.
Yeah.
Venus, in the uniformitarian astronomy, would be hundreds of millions of miles away from Mars. Earth is in between them. Then there's no way Venus and Mars could ever get close to each other and still maintain the movement they have today. But another object could. A totally third different object, independent of Venus, independent of Earth, independent of Mars, could definitely solve all the mysteries you're proposing right now. And just because you don't know what that object is, doesn't mean that in the geometry such an object would solve all these mysteries. It would. And all I'm proposing is that object does exist.
I can't discount any of that. But here's what I'm relying on. You see that picture, if you go back to the group of them, I have another picture of Venus's, what I consider was the impact site from Venus into it. If I could find it, you got to go back to that folder up there.
Oh yeah, you got some good pictures. There's no doubt.
Let's see. Wait to the right at the bottom. There you. No, not that one.
That's not it.
No, that one right there. There you go. Now, this is Venus. Now, you see all that red stuff there? That is like electrical discharge. That's almost like a welder's discharge to me.
Okay, this would be like a flux tube discharge. When a large magnetic body approaches another magnetic body, there's going to exchange hundreds of billions of volts of electricity between them, similar to what Immanuel Velikovsky recorded in 713 BC, when 185,000 Assyrian soldiers, all wearing iron armor and all that, were vaporized outside of Jerusalem when an object appeared in the sky. He says it was Venus. I'm saying it was Phoenix. But the object appeared outside, and the electrical discharge vaporized all the soldiers. The Apocalypse of Barak gives you even more detail than the Old Testament does. The Old Testament in the book of Isaiah and 2 Kings gives you the testimony that in the days of Hezekiah, 185,000 Assyrian soldiers under King Sennacherib were threatening Jerusalem when all of a sudden the sun stopped moving in the sky. Then it moved 10 degrees in retrograde and stopped again before moving forward. And while it was in retrograde, a thunderbolt from the sky vaporized the soldiers. But in the Apocalypse of Barak, it says that the thunderbolt lasted for a little while, and it completely rendered to mist all the soldiers, but it didn't even mess with their clothes, didn't mess with their armor, their metal, their weapons, but their actual bodies were electrified and just rendered into a mist from the thunderbolt, and that the people of Jerusalem ran out after the event and found the entire field full of nothing but weapons and armor and burnt flesh. But this is when the sun stopped moving across the sky.
Wow, I never heard any of that. Wow.
Yeah, that's it. That's in Worlds in Collision by
Velikovsky, yeah.
Yeah, Velikovsky, but his bibliography cites a bunch of other books that I've read. I chased his bibliography, and one of those was Apocalypse of Barak. And when I read the Apocalypse of Barak, I couldn't believe it. The whole story's in there, and it describes this lightning bolt from the sky that vaporized all 185,000 Assyrians in seconds, but it
Well,
didn't damage.
let me talk to you. I do a lot, like I said, with light and heat and electricity and the stuff in the sky. What you're talking about does make sense.
The
And
the scientific name is called a flux tube, FLUXTUBE, and it's a electrical discharge between. We've actually recorded one in 1994. Comet Swift-Tuttle approached too close to Jupiter, and when it did, when it entered the magnetosphere, it was caught on camera. We have pictures of it. You can Google the pictures today. It shows a lightning bolt, huge lightning bolt, leaving the surface of the clouds of Jupiter, hitting the comet, and it broke the comet up into 21 different pieces that slammed into Jupiter. This is in 1994, and it was the first scientific evidence of flux tube phenomena. And I have studied flux tube, and I have them recorded in my Chronicon different years when they were prolific, such as 1899 BC and 713 BC and 256 AD, when like all the fortresses in Scotland were vitrified. There was a storm over Scotland that sent lightning bolts, these flux tube discharges, when an object appeared in the sky, and it hit all these human constructions and literally melted whole castles in seconds. The individual blocks that the castles were made, the walls, vitrified. In some areas they turn to glass and crystal, but it's this flux tube discharge that has been found to create glass called tektites that are found all over the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert has whole green fields of glass where these flux tube. This is not regular lightning from thunderstorms. This is from something higher up, and when it hits, it literally turns to glass all the sand in that area of the desert. They've also been found mounds in Burz Nimrud, in Assyria, in Iraq. Ruins out there have all been found to be vitrified. This green glass created by what are called the flux tubes. 1229 BC, also during the Trojan War, the Hittite cities of Borsippa of Assyria at the same time as Hattusis in Hittite Anatolia, pre-Frisian ruins. They were absolutely turned to glass, fortifications in Turkey today, by lightning bolts. Homer's Iliad describes that the enemies of Troy were hit with these lightning bolts. And this is what we find in the archaeological record. They're calling them flux tube discharges, and they produce what are called tektites.
that's interesting, huh? Yeah, this I see as an electrical discharge myself. Now, when you were talking about the planet stopping and going for a second here and going this way for a second and then starting back up again, one of the major concerns about the impact and causing the planet to stand still was how would it start turning around again? Well, the reason it would is because we're scrubbing through space, and the atmosphere of our planet has to scrub through the atmosphere of space, and it automatically starts turning it. It's just automatic. Nothing you can do about it. It's because we're spinning around in a circle. It's almost like rolling down a road.
So you're saying this right here is Venus, right?
Correct.
So, Venus is considered in the uniformitarian astronomy, it's considered to be the sister of our world. And what's really interesting about it is that Venus, according to astronomy, has a vapor canopy today. It's still intact. If our world had the same vapor canopy that Venus had, then our atmospheric pressure would be much more intense. But because we already have a biosphere that's oxygen rich, it would be fundamentally different than Venus's. Ours would be more like a sauna. It would be a sauna where plants and animals and everything would grow to huge, gigantic sizes. But we don't have that vapor canopy anymore. As a matter of fact, in the oldest traditions that I have recorded right here in Archaix, I believe, Roger, that the world that you describe with these giant creatures and this biology that's found fossilized and mineralized everywhere, this Medusa effect that is completely entombed our world in nothing but one giant ecosystem fossil. You are recording a vapor canopy from ancient times. And this is the origin of the story of the flood, because the great flood of Noah is the same one as the flood of Typhon. Two different traditions describing the same event. And in the flood of Typhon, the day the sky fell is because the crystal firmament above fractured like glass and fell down, and the world was destroyed in flooding when basically what was described as the fall of the Titans. Now, all this is documented on my channel. That's why I'm fascinated with what you're saying, because it's coming from such a different way of thinking, different material. You have more of a scientific background, but we're literally documenting the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's very confusing. There's a lot to it. There's nothing that you can just jump in and say this is this and this is that. But let me just show you something here. Go up to the top left. Let's start with the top left one. All right, these are up on Mars. They're called the Mars blueberries. These are identical to the Moki marbles. These little balls are all over the Earth. Now go back again and go to the next one over. This was in Mars, and I contacted NASA and all that. Now you see this? This is called a Mars crab. And back out of it a little bit if you can. Is that as far back? All right. Well, it didn't. I sent the wrong picture, but that's okay. You see, that's an artery. That thing is an artery. Those little legs are blood vessels, and that top little blood spot above it, that circle above that crab-looking thing, is the vein. So it's an artery and a vein. The artery brings the blood down, the red one, and the vein, the black one, brings the used blood back. Now you see those little lines there on the side, down there on the side?
Yeah, right here.
Yep. On the other side too. On the other side of that crevice there. Yep. You see them all over. All right. Now go back to the pictures. Yeah, go back to the yeah, there you go. Where are we going to go? Way over to the right, the second one in. Not that one. There, these are what's called sarcomeres. All of those little lines and those little breaks are what a muscle does. The bottom one is contracted. The upper two show relaxed, and one of them shows a deformed muscle at the top, which it ripped a little bit. Now this is what muscles look like. Remember that because the red spots are where the blood is, and that erodes. The white spots are where the tough stuff is, and this is what a mud fossil looks like. Way, way, way at the very top is the white. That white stuff, that's the skin. Way, way, way at the very top. Way up there. Yeah, that's the skin. Now, then you go through the tissue, a little bit of the tissue, and there's the blood in there. And then you're into those sarcomeres. You see them? They're the same sarcomeres we just saw before. Do you agree?
Yeah, they're very familiar.
Yeah, they're exactly the same because they're sarcomeres. Now, every muscle requires a ton of blood. You see that blood fusing through that? That's all blood. It's dried up now. You see the red stuff?
Yeah.
Right there. That's literally that would have been flowing blood at one time. Now, so we know what the sarcomeres look like in a rock. We know what they look like in an anatomical. So let's go back to the pictures. All right, now I want you to go to bottom left. That one right there. You see that? That's an olive grove. Go down into those sarcomeres. That is the same thing I just showed you. Those are sarcomeres. That red spot right there, that's blood. That's where the blood is coming in to service these muscle sarcomeres. If I have shots of this where you can see that there was layers of red blood had run out from under there. You see way over to the right, go to the furthest right side you can. You see the red? This is all, yeah, there you go. These are all sarcomeres. This is the same thing I showed you in those other rock, but this is the body of a creature that is astronomically large. You see the red coming out of there?
I do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to say that this, if your theory is correct, and we're looking at the residual fossilized remains of a biological organism of that size, then I'm going to have to say that our world is probably much bigger than the government is telling us it is. And two, a creature that size would have required a different biosphere. So we're talking about something before the historical record. So just for clarity, in Archaix, I only deal with 5239 BC and after. Anything, because that's why I've got all my historical, I got massive libraries and sources. I can't find any references to anything prior to 5239 BC and older that's verifiable. So something this large would be something in the far ancient past, which is way beyond my area of expertise. And the world being 24,000 miles in circumference, I would have to say that the world would be much bigger to accompany creatures of this size.
Hear me through on this. Here's my opinion of, because I can't come up with any explanation. I'm not trying to say I have an explanation. I only have a little bit of a theory. And I know this is, and there's a couple of possibilities. One is that they were just celestial bodies that were balled together and turned into the earth, which I don't think that's true. Now, the other possibility is that the earth was literally flat and just gigantically enormous at one time because it was spinning like a record on a record player. And all the mass that we see today was spread out to a very, you know how it says in the Bible, it says there was chaos. It was chaos. What does that mean? Chaos to me means I don't know what, but it's not a round ball. It doesn't mean a round ball. It means there was chaos. Look at that. You see that? Those are literally the breasts of a giant woman. Look at that carefully. All right, those lines, you see that all of that color is actual color of body tissue. Those lines are actual lines that are in the body that are the tendinous lines. Now, I have a picture of the actual breast of a human. Go in close to the top so you can see. Go in as close to the top. You see all that stuff that's on the top?
Yeah.
That's the breast tissue. Go to the other side of it and see. You see it?
Yeah. I see.
That's the breast tissue. Now, go to the anatomical. I have an anatomical in there too. Right there. Right there it is. There it is, man.
Oh.
That's it.
So what comes to my mind when I'm looking at these is, stop presenting just for a second. Get back in here. Okay, what's coming to my mind as I look at these is, are you familiar with the Mandelbrot set? Are you familiar with the Mandelbrot set that shows fixed geometries, and when they are magnified, it shows that the complexity of the geometry is synthesized and replicated. Even though there are slight deviations and changes, there's still more to be seen upon magnification, and it never really ends. So if the Mandelbrot set is to be taken as a...
Where does that say that again? What is it?
It's called the Mandelbrot set. Have you ever seen one?
Never heard of it.
Okay, Mandelbrot set. I'm gonna have to show it. Let me
get yourself set up. Can we take a couple of minutes here? I want to just get a cup of tea. And,
I'm gonna pull up a Mandelbrot set for my viewers while you're getting your tea.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. So let's go with Where would I even find that? I don't have a real. Video. All right, let's see here. We're going to find one right now. Right. Yeah, I did find one. All right. So, all right, guys, our guest is it's tea time. Well, 1 hour and 49 minutes. So I'm going to show you guys a Mandelbrot set because what he's describing to me about gigantic life forms, and then when those gigantic life forms no longer have value to the environment, they become a part of the environment. Once they're a part of the environment, smaller life forms get to take over, and then they're using the previously existing life forms as a foundation for their own world. The Mandelbrot set literally shows us an example of this in geometry. Let me show you. Let's do it. I'm going to present, share my screen. All right. Here's you, Mandelbrot set. Here it is. An infinite amount of worlds. Look at the complexity. Doesn't look complex until you magnify it. When you magnify it, you realize it's the same geometry over and over again. Just slight deviations. So the Mandelbrot set as a geometrical tool is literally showing us basically what Roger's talking about, that sometime in the ancient distant past, there was a different biosphere that produced different biological organisms, that we are now using those biological organisms as the foundation to our own world, for which has unfolded a whole other history of Mandelbrot set examples. This is the Mandelbrot set. It is an infinite amount of worlds, one world built upon another world, built upon another world, built upon another world, and yet the fundamental rules of structuring do not change. Only the worlds themselves change, but they're still borrowing from previous geometries. It's the Mandelbrot set. Same geometry over and over and over, no matter how many times we magnify it, expressed in different ways. It's literally what we're discovering about our world. Right. Hope that was entertaining.
What's up? I'm coming back. I'm almost there.
Oh, that's all right. I've been showing them the Mandelbrot set. Truth is better than fiction, guys. No doubt. No doubt. So for my Archaix veterans, my own community, I know you guys have some mind explosions going on, because in the historical record I'm always talking about the 2 or 3 vapor canopies that we've documented. What we're seeing with Roger Mudfossil's material is a hitherto unknown vapor canopy world that's even further back. One where our world itself was fundamentally different air pressure, a different barometric pressure. We're talking about a world where creatures could have existed that were of titanic dimensions. I'm not opposed to that. because this is what we see in the historical record as well. We've documented 2, maybe 3 vapor canopies, and yes, during those vapor canopies, humans were documented to grow to extraordinary sizes until those canopies collapsed and caused what we call great floods. So this is all very compelling. I know my Archaix veterans have been seeing the correlates here, so it's quite astonishing.
Yeah, it's a whole new world, man. There's a lot to think about, and there's a lot that's up in the air. You just don't know, But it sounds like you've been doing your homework, which is a lot different than the rest of the world.
Oh man, I just look like this, but I'm at heart, Roger. I'm a nerd. I love to read.
I'm not much of a reader per se. I don't like read books. I read scientific journals and articles that are pointed towards a little area of my interest at that moment. So I'm so fragmented that people they can't grasp my mind because I go in so many directions at the same time.
Right? Yeah. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. All these are scientific papers that have been published in hardback. All these are just scientific papers from around the world, and everything in here is peer reviewed. So I'm a student of William Corliss, the Sourcebook Project. All these are Sourcebook Project books. But he does. Listen, you would do well to find. They're very rare. They're hard to get. But he talks about some of the things you do. That some geology shows evidence of being actual fossilized biology.
I'm going to tell you something. Jason. There is nothing, and I'm serious, there is nothing in the universe that is not biological. And I'm talking the universe. I'm not talking about just the Earth.
Yeah, man. It's amazing. It's amazing what William Corliss is. He spent his whole life putting together all the anomalous scientific stuff from around the world.
Yeah, and how did he do in the end? What did they do to him? They tried to destroy him, right?
Well, let me tell you what they did. They left him alone because he wasn't trying to push it out. All he was doing was collating all the data, and he published it in a series of hardback books that I have. It's like 17 books. And then when he died, some foundations have been buying all his books, and then they disappeared. No one knows what's happening to them.
I never heard of anything.
You can look up some of these books, and they're $600 on eBay. There's just I
never heard of it. But this is the problem. Here's what I ran into. When I first discovered my stuff, I figured, holy shit, these people are going to go crazy for this. This is going to be fantastic. So I got a hold of Yale, and the first words out of Derek Briggs's mouth from Yale University, New Haven, Connecticut. And he was a top guy, because I always like to go to the top guy. And the first word from him was, "What are you, a creationist?" And I said, "What do you mean by that?" I didn't even know the word, because I was just in fossils. Because I think I told him, I says, I got some body parts from creatures, and I think some of them are giants. And I think he got all pissed off. And anyway, I really forced it on him, and we went to odds it ended up almost it did end up with police and lawyers, because that's a very long story, but this went on for years. And then my paper in 2015 was exactly, almost word for word, the paper they wrote that NASA paid them for. NASA's the one that funded it. And the reason NASA funded it was because of the stuff I showed you that's on Mars. I called NASA, and I talked to people at NASA, and I didn't call them, I emailed, I forget how I got in contact with them. But I said, you people are showing all these things up on Mars from curiosity. This is in 2015. And I said, you're showing all this stuff? That's all biology. And they said, no, that's pareidolia. That's just you seeing stuff that isn't there. I said, well, what is that Mars crab? You explain to me what that Mars crab is. That's just pareidolia. Forget that. We're going to go look somewhere else. I said, well, what is it? Tell me what it is. And then, of course, and I have one here in my shop. As a matter of fact, I think I might have sent. Yeah, I did. Go back to those pictures. I sent you one I have in my shop that's almost identical to the Mars crab. I have so many mud fossils. I have a better collection of mud fossils. Well, I've discovered them, so I have them coming out of my ears. And my specific property is in exactly the right spot.
What am I looking at?
Hold on.
We can go through them just left. We can go through them just left or right.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Say it again.
I said we can go through the pictures one by one.
All right. Well, this one here is a rock, and you see the two little dots in the middle at the bottom. Those are the vein and the artery. But this isn't a good shot. You got to start from the scab first. Go back to the screen. Go back. Yeah, those are lungs. Let me I'll explain to you one at a time. Those are both lungs. Whoops. Okay. Those are both lungs. Now, you see the one on the left has completely transitioned into quartz, except the blood that's still inside of it. Go close up to it.
So you're saying this dark red stain is blood that's still in it? Yes.
Okay. And up in the little tablet up there, you can see up on the right, up there, over to the right. Yeah, that's the blood that came out. You can see when it first came out, I took pictures of it. And I have other ones with scabs coming out too. Now, the lung just below, the one right there, that one there, it has all the mottled look on it. That still has all of its pleura, which is the coating on the lung. It's like a big rubber bag. Now, I drilled into that and got a sample of that and sent it off for DNA testing, and it was human, mitochondrial human DNA, and modern human. And it's flat as a pancake on one side. And the other one was turned into silicon, basically, like quartz. Because inside of your lung is nothing but holes. You know, I'm talking about veins of quartz. Well, this is what that's blood falls. That's actually blood coming out because of different one up there. That's a giant somewhere, and that's actually blood flowing out. They're all over now. They're just everywhere.
And this reminds me of Watership Down. Story of the fields bleeding. The rabbits are trying to escape.
There's so many things that we don't understand. That's my fingertip. Okay, look at this. Hold on. Let me get a sip of tea. Hold on. Okay, now, if you look at that fingertip, go in as close as you can and just keep the fingertip in there. Yeah. Okay, that's good. All right, now. Look at it to the right side is where the front of the fingertip is. And that is the fingernail that circles around there and goes underneath the tape. You see it? Can you see this fingernail? Right there. Go back to where you were. Right. That's the fingernail. Go trace around it.
This is fingernail?
Yeah, trace around it. Trace around the edge of it. All the way around the edge. All the way around the edge. Down around. Yep. Nope. Stay with the edge of it. All the way around. Yep. No. Stay with the edge of it. Stay on the dark side. Right there. Keep going. No. All the way around. Now get to that line. No. Where the line is right there. No, back. Right there. The line. Now go. No. Go into where the finger. There you go. Right there. That's the other side of the fingernail. Go all the way around like you're in a circle. Go all the way around, down and around. All the way around the whole thing, all the way around, just like it's a no. Stay on the dark. Stay on the dark. Yes. Down the dark. Now keep going in a circle and come up to that line you were at. Just keep going around in a circle. All the way around to that line. Right there. Keep going. Now, there you go. Basically that, only make it rounder. Keep going down like a little rounder. Around that. Now come down. Just keep going down. You're not going far enough. You got to stay all on the edge. That's the edge of the. There you go. Keep going. Down? Keep going. Yeah, but you're not down that strip. just like a fingernail. You got to go round. I'm sorry, man. You round, round, round. Keep going round, straight down.
I'm not following you, man. We can do this all day. Just not
Well, look at
following you.
your own thumb. Look at your own thumb. And then go down the side, the dark side, all the way, and keep going around to where, and make it like a little circle, and come back up to that line.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the imagination to see it.
Well, it's there. Anyway, if you go down to the other end, that round circle at the very bottom, the other side.
Over here?
Yeah, right in the middle, the round circle. You see it round?
Right here?
No. Right at the very tip of the bottom. No, in the middle of the. Bring it down a little bit. Yeah, now you see those two little dots in the middle right there at the very end.
Right here?
Yeah, those two. No, those two above. Those two right above your cursor. There you go.
Right here, right here.
Yeah, there you go. Those are the vein and artery. Now that whole thing is a circle. If you went around that little where it's dark, where it's white, stay around in the white and make a circle right around it. That's the pad that goes behind your finger to the next bone, and it's in there. Now I had to break off the fingerprints on the side to get down into the blood. But move your cursor in like about an inch to the right towards the yellow tape. Stop. That is the bottom of the fingernail. Now, yes. Now make like a circle over to the dark side where I kept yelling, stop. Remember over on the side? There you go. Now go hold all the way around, all the way down that line. There you go. Now you're on you're close now. And just keep going all the way around. There you go, around and around and around until you find yourself. There you go. Not quite all the way that far down. There you go. Around, down, and then now up. There you go. Now we got a fingernail. Stay on the edges, and it's a fingernail. Trust me. And I'll show you the fingerprints. Go back to it's 3 feet wide. 3 feet long from front to back. Now, there's another one that shows it. That's the palm of a hand that I have here. And that, if you take your left hand and splay it backwards, you're going to have that bumper pad. Your small finger goes off to the right, and your thumb goes off to the left. I'll dig into it. Go into it. Open it up as much as you can. Yeah, there you go. A little more. All right. Now, you see that silver stuff? And then it comes up to the red clay. That's the grip skin that's on the hand. All right, you see the silver stuff over on the left where the silver comes up to the red? No.
I see it.
Yeah, that's silver stuff. But over to the left, you see where it's peeling off from the red? Yeah, it's peeling off. You see it peeling? There and over to there you go. Up, right up in that. There you go, right there. No, right up in there. You see the silver meeting the red. Up, right there. Right there. There you go. Exactly. Now dig into that. Go in close. You see how it's just peeling off? You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I see the differential. Yeah.
It's peeling off. And that's grip skin. Now, that little cleave in the middle, that little cut, if you pinch your hand together, you're going to have one of those in between your palms of your hand too. I have finger knuckles and all from this, and I had that DNA tested, and I had fingers tips CAT scan, 100% human. This just shows a picture of, they were here, man. They didn't just do that for nothing.
That's big old feet.
Yeah. And that isn't even huge. Now, here's the piece I broke off. Remember I was telling you to circle that fingernail? This was the piece I broke off of the fingernail, and that still has fingerprints on it. You see the two sweat pores, those little two dots there coming up?
Yeah.
That's the sweat pores. That's the fingerprint ridge. And you see how it's peeled off of that anatomical look? That's exactly what I was talking to you about before, the silver grip skin. That's what's on the palm of your hands and your fingertips and your feet is grip skin. And it peels right off like that. And this did too. I had to break this off to get down and get inside to get some blood. And that is do you see what I'm talking about for the fingerprints?
This right here.
Yeah. You see the two little dots? Right there. Right? You come up with your cursor just a hair. Right there. Those are the two sweat pores. Now right down to those two dots. Just a hair down, a hair right there. That's the fingerprint ridge. And that you're underneath the sweat pore right there. And the next one up is another sweat pore. You see it?
It's crazy. Is this an X-ray?
It's I believe it's some kind of thermal imaging, but it shows all of the blood that's in the hands, and that's hands and fingers. It's saturated with blood, and that's what preserves the mud fossils is blood. Believe it or not. Now go into this one. Check this out. You see that footprint? That's in red bed, gray clay, black cap. The black cap is over on the right-hand side. Go in as far as you can on that if you can. All right. You see the right-hand side of that foot-looking thing? Right there. No, that's Caesar. That's my goose. But I'm talking about in my screen, those right there, back up, right. Those three were together in a pile, which is a red bed, the gray clay, and a black cap, but there's a human footprint in there. And that right there is a new species of human that nobody's known about. I call them no-toes. And that's not a shoe, that's the foot of a creature. And we have all kinds of stuff from, well, forever.
Wow.
I have at least a minimum of 5 different styles of no-toes. Different styles. And they don't even have bones in them, most of them. They have springs. Now that footprint was pushed down through the red bed. The red bed is on the left. The footprint was through the gray clay, through the red bed, and then the black cap on the right, which is upside down, landed on top of that. I found that stack. And this is all stuff came off my own property.
Wow.
And that is the Triassic era with a human footprint right in the middle. The Triassic era happened in 24 hours. It wasn't for 40 million years.
Oh, there's no doubt. Yeah, I'm a catastrophist to the core. All that hundreds of millions years, they can miss me with that bullshit.
Yeah, it's all crazy. It's all made up. Now look at this. Remember I showed you the Mars blueberries? Over the right on the bottom, dig in a little bit. Over on the right on the bottom is the Moki marbles. That's exactly identical to the Mars blueberries. Now the ones on the left, those balls on the left, they call them stromatolites. They're not stromatolites, they're tendon balls. They're eroded out of those walls. They didn't just grow there for nothing. And all the red flesh underneath that white, which is skin, the red flesh is now mud. You see it? Start at the very bottom of that and look at all the mud flowing out of there. And then all these balls are the same tendon balls like you see on the right, and they're eroding out of that wall, and the skin is up above. That's how big these things were. See it up above? Look at the one up above there. Yeah, right at the top. It's called interstitium. The top layer is the mucosa, the skin, whatever, and that's the white layer from below. And right below that is all the red fleshy stuff. And there's those are anchor balls. Those balls anchor your flesh so that you can move around. It's the same thing, only that's in us, it's like microscopic. In that, it's fairly good size.
Man, I mean, you're presenting material that, I mean, we're literally living on an extinct, petrified god. I mean, this is Norse mythology all over again.
I see no way. There's still a lot of questions. I'm not, just like you brought up some very good points. There's things I don't think about, but see this. Look at this. Those are the same tendon balls that I showed you from Huntington's Beach, which they are in the salt water. These are in fresh water, so they grow green moss. The other ones grow brown mossy something, but that's the difference. Now this is a membrane. All right. Now the top and bottom layer are biphospholipid, which means phosphorus, and then the center is all fatty stuff. Now just go back to the pictures. Where you see the one from Tyson, my buddy. We've been doing, there it is right there. Check that one out. That's the same freaking tendon.
Damn.
That is the same tendon, bro.
It does. I mean, in juxtaposition with the wall, it does look like biology. It looks like a petrified biology.
Wait, hold on. Let me just explain to you precisely what we got here. Where do you see the details? You see, if you go down the top to the end, you see there's a 6-foot level between this layer and the layer up above, and that's a tendon. I mean, a membrane. This is only the lower layer.
Right.
There's 2 layers. That's the upper layer. In us, you could take that membrane and look through it, just like a window pane almost. It's that fine. Now, dig in a little closer up to those bumps. Dig in closer to the bumps. You see how they all have edges around them?
Yeah.
You see how dig in close to them. You see how they all have like little.
Yeah, they all have it's like a flange. Yeah, it comes off.
Yeah, you know why? Those are these freaking tendon bumps, man. And they were normally glued in there. There's what they call small leucine-rich proteins, which are gluey substances that seal this so that you can move around and they can flex. Wait to show you this. Hold on. Stay there for a second, but let me finish up on the tendons. I mean, on the membranes. The membranes have to be able to flex around and all that. But anyway, you saw the size of them, 6 feet thick. 6 feet thick, and there was no question. Now, this is the Mitchell Hedges skull on the right. Now, home in close to that. Home in on it, so that we can see mostly the Mitchell Hedges.
This was found in the ancient pre-Mayan ruins of it's in Central America. I can't remember, but they're not Mayan. It's pre-Mayan ruins. I'm familiar with the Mitchell Hedges skull.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know the exact details like you're trying to come up with. But I do know you're right. It was down in that area, and they found it, and this has been dismissed as fake. Now, what I want to show you is look at the front lip. It's twisted back.
Yeah.
Nobody would carve that. The nose is pushed back. Nobody would carve that.
Right.
The teeth are so perfect. I was thrown off by that. I said, this can't possibly be. How could they have such perfect teeth? Now, there's 2 possibilities here, but let's forget about the teeth for now. Now, look at the back of the skull. There's a pocket there of space, and then you come to the back cerebral cortex. Now, coming down to the side so we can see all the brain fibers. You see all the fibers coming up?
Absolutely.
Now, those are deep inside. Those aren't on the outside. Now, go over. Now, look at them both at the same time. Back out so you can see them both. Now, all right, now, closer in. You got to see them better. You got, no, further, I'm sorry, the other way, so that we can see them both completely. Perfect. Now, you remember on the right, the one in the back of the brain there's that big open spot.
Yeah.
And we saw the nose and the lip is pushed back. He was on his face when he died. And the nose and the lip are pushed back, and the brain has come forward. That ball that's in the back of the one on the left, that's a brain scan. That ball has moved forward. You follow me?
Hey, let me offer you some information that actually lends credence to your theory here. You see this skull?
Yeah.
You know what the true anomaly is about this skull?
Yeah.
The reason why I've told my own community that this is not a piece of work of art. This was an actual living human.
Jaw comes off.
The jaw is movable.
I know.
On the skull, it doesn't come off. It's movable though, meaning it was fossilized with the jaw intact because you can't bend crystal to put the jaw there. That means
wow! I didn't know that. I thought it actually came off. Oh, okay, cool.
The jaw does not come off. That's why it's such a mystery. On the Mitchell Hedges skull, it has a jaw on a hinge designed just like the human jaw, and it's in place. And they're saying there's no way they could have made that with crystal. It's impossible.
Wow. I didn't know that.
So I got some bad news though. I got some bad news.
Yeah, what?
The bad news is because I'm using mobile. I have internet off this because I live so far out in the country that my Wi-Fi from the other buildings doesn't reach real good. I use this mobile, and it has to. It's like it jacks straight into my laptop. But in order to use it, I have to not be charging because it'll overheat this. So I'm down to 10% on my laptop. We're gonna have to close this video.
No problem.
I'll do part 2 sometime.
Yeah, well, I had a good time, man. It was fun, and I learned something, which I always like to learn stuff.
Well, yeah, the next time, we'll spend a little time doing a tutorial on StreamYard, so I can show you exactly how I did everything I just did. How you can share everything.
Yeah, I don't know anything about StreamYard. You don't do Zoom, huh?
I don't do Zoom on. I tell you what, the next time we do a video, we'll do it on your channel because you'll automatically be doing Zoom.
Yeah, we could do that. You know, I subscribed to Zoom for a couple of years. It just ran out where you had unlimited, but you can do Zoom for 40 minutes at a time.
Yeah, I pay for Zoom. I think I got it. I just don't ever use it.
Oh, you pay for it?
Yeah, I pay for it. I just don't.
I know how to use it. No, I can. You can if you can get on Zoom, we're gonna be golden.
Yeah, I've got Zoom, but I use that for when I'm talking to people privately about different things and stuff like that. But for YouTube, I use StreamYard because StreamYard records every one of my videos, so I don't have to go back in there and try to get the video using software off YouTube. It's automatically in my StreamYard app. So, but that's Roger Spur, Mudfossil University. He's been an awesome guest. I've had some mind explosions here because I've seen some validation in things that I suspected. I'm a little mind blown about the whole Mandelbrot concept that maybe we're living on the back of giants. I mean, you guys know I got Mjolnir right here, Thor's hammer, and to see evidence that maybe our world is built on the back of a giant. Tiamat, our world was built off the ruins of Tiamat. There's a Hindu goddess where our world was built off of her. I mean, I got a whole list of them. It's just really interesting to see that maybe a lot of geology and geography is actually ancient biology. That's pretty compelling.
No question. And there's 100%. There is nothing that isn't biology. Zero.
Absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah,
so I'm also in agreement with the fact that Roger here said that everything is light, and just like I've told my own community that we are spirit, and it is all light. And then when we lower the vibration of light, we get sound. When we lower the vibration of sound, we get physical objects. I said everything is an extension of the phenomenon of light. So
I call light atomic vapor.
Atomic vapor. There it is.
It's atomic vapor.
Before my laptop dies, and I won't be able to get my outro out, I need to go ahead and exit. And Roger,
right,
we'll be seeing you next time, man. It was great
talk. Nice time. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, this is fun. And you guys, Roger's links are in the description box. Go check him out. He's got 3,300 videos. And tomorrow, Martin Leakey, Extraordinaire Weirdo, is going to be on my channel at noon. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Mudfossil University. I'll see you later, brother.
There it is. All right, man. All right, guys. That was a great show. I'm going to hit my outro. Love you guys. And those of you who want to attend the meetup, it's on the 28th. And the link for the meetup is in the description box. See. And I know I got food on my mind because I'm very hungry. Great show, guys. Roger's good people. Good people.